You are the self-proclaimed president of the Jalen Brunson fan club.
Yeah, I am.
Jalen
Happy
Brunson,
to be.
yeah, signing a 4-year, $104 million deal with the Knicks. And Harp, you've seen this kid come up from, a precocious neophyte, as Clyde would say, to, a marked man now with the contract that he signed. What have you seen based on your time in Dallas with him, this kid's growth and development? What have you seen out of Jalen Brunson?
First of all, man, I have probably watched every single game that Jalen Brunson has played since being a Maverick. And what I see is a young man that has the pedigree, if you would, to be a successful player in this league, mainly because he's a winner. And he won that, he won at Villanova, championships there. That speaks for itself, not an easy thing to do. He continues to work. People think you luck up sometimes, CP, and become good. Not the case. You put the work in, the results and the game situation will be easy for you. And Jalen is just one of those guys I know, I'm not wondering this, I know, works on his game. Every single year he came back to Dallas after the offseason, showed great improvement in a different area. And I always felt like that the league made a mistake drafting him so late, if you would. You play for Jay Wright. Number one, you're a winner. You know the game. You know how to play the game. You play for your teammates and not so much for yourself all the time. And I think he's going to be a pleasant surprise. I really do. Because I don't think people really appreciated what Jalen has done thus far as a player when it comes to, I guess he's going into his 4th year. We don't know how good this kid can be. And I think he's going to really be a huge benefit to the Knicks. Knows Coach Thibodeau for a long time. That helps. His father is on the coaching staff. That helps and gives you the kind of confidence that you need to go out and get it done. New York's a tough place to play. You guys know that. But at the same time, Jalen is one of the toughest, underrated point guards in this league, in my opinion.
And absolutely right, Harper. And you talk about his makeup and his pedigree. We know his father came up here with this organization, went to Villanova, and you look at all the draft picks that come out of Villanova. They're always well coached. They're always fundamentally sound, good leadership qualities, good head on their shoulders. Shout out to Jay Wright because he does an excellent job with that program, and they always seem to be pro-ready. One of the things about Brunson that is really comes off the charts is his efficiency inside the arc. I mean, this is a guy who shot 68% from the rim, 50% from the mid-range, all within the 90th percentile in the league. You've seen some of the best in the game. You played against some of the best in the game. What is it that, from a point guard perspective, with his size, what is it that makes him so prolific inside the arc?
Especially in a time where all the guards are shooting threes, right? He's different. And I think Jalen understands. I always talk about, especially young guards, right? That the first thing that they have to understand is when to go and when to slow. And I think the timing of what Jalen does is it's surreal in a lot of ways, because you ever hear people say, oh, he slowed him that time. Mark Jackson used to slow people to death. Yeah. Mark wasn't the fastest, the quickest guy, but he played at his pace and knew where he wanted to go. He knew when to go fast, when to slow down. And I think Jalen has some of those same traits. You don't have to be the fastest guy. You don't have to be the strongest guy, but the intelligence in which he plays the game, I think allows him to be really solid, getting under defenses and making plays for himself, for other people. I think the thing that helped Jalen as well is playing with a guy like Luka. Luka's so big, you can move him off of the ball. And when they didn't skip a beat because Jalen understood that position so well. So, again, as much as people want to say Jalen is okay, but I think they're going to see why the Knicks spent the money. I don't think the money is going to faze him because he's not one of these guys. I mean, everybody wants to get paid, but he's not one of these guys that was looking for the money and the money only. He's a guy that will continue to work on his craft, man, and continue to get better. You do that. You play 15, 16, 17 years in the NBA.
And Harp, you mentioned, playing alongside Luka Doncic. And with Brunson, he's certainly made a name for himself playing without Luka Doncic. And playing on the ball, especially in the playoffs, 27 points per game in the playoffs. We'll see what this Knicks roster looks like. But, I think another dynamic that he brings to this team is if he does have to play with an RJ Barrett or a Julius Randle, being able to play on the ball or play off of those guys and excel in that light.
I think that's overrated. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, kind of the same size, played in the same backcourt. I don't think it necessarily matters, man. If you know how to play basketball, when you play at Rucker Park, they don't worry about a point guard, a two guard, or a big three, a small three. You just go out and you play, man. And I think the game has changed so much where you don't play position basketball anymore. You put two guys out there, they play to their strengths as players. You try to get the best out of both people that are out on the floor. Barrett, solid, left-handed guys, they're going to trick a lot of people because, you put those left-handed guys out there on the floor together, and I think it gives them a huge advantage. Both guys can shoot the ball. Both have the ability to work off the bounce, get to the rim, things of that nature. I just don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, man. You just go out and you play. Maybe defensively you're challenged sometimes, but at the end of the day, man, the team that scores the most points, that's who wins.
Harp, I got a question for you. So, you talked about, how you saw Brunson's game, right? You got to see it firsthand, especially being down in Dallas.
Yes, sir.
Were you surprised the way that he's come along in the NBA to this point?
Yeah. I have to admit, I knew Jalen was solid, and being solid and having the potential to be a star is two different things, right? But he had a mediocre rookie year. He was up, he was down, and that's typical when you think about a young player. But he quickly caught on. And not only did he catch on, but he continued to work. That's what you asked, CP, about something that surprised me. Jalen, what surprises me is how hard this guy works. 24/7 in the gym, comes early, stays late. That's the sign of a player that wants to get better and ultimately will get better. I can't say enough good things about Jalen Brunson, and I'm not intimidated by talking about him, even though he's coming to the Mecca, right? He's coming to New York. You guys know how difficult it is sometimes to play in New York. For crying out loud, hell, they ran me out of there after my first 5 games. they wanted to know why Coach Riley traded for me. But I think Jalen is tough enough to handle that kind of stuff, man. And if you can get past it, you can win the New York problem.
What advice would you give for Brunson? Because I was listening to your show and you asked him if he's ready for the big stage or whatnot. So what advice would you give Jalen Brunson playing in New York now?
Man, I would give anybody playing in New York to be yourself, man. I think a lot of times we get caught up because we go to a different team, a bigger market, or what have you. But, it's basketball, man, at the end of the day. And I think you have to be smart enough to not try to change so much. What does he have to do other than come in and be Jalen Brunson? And I think when you get a new player and you give him $100+ million, I think automatically people want to put a lot of onus on that individual guy. But make no mistake about it, Jalen can play well and the Knicks still not have success. And then we're going to say, oh, he's not that good, he's not this, he's not that. So don't put so much pressure on you as a player that you think you have to do everything to try to help this Knicks team improve and be better as a team. You don't have to do that. You have to hold up your end of the deal, which I think Jalen is more than capable of doing. And I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I really do. I certainly don't think the city and what it's all about is too big for him psychologically or physically. I think he'll handle it.
Okay. I was watching your show once again. So and I saw that you asked Jalen, what was a big, impact for him coming out this season. And he mentioned Jason Kidd, right? He pushed him. Yes. Jason Kidd, a Hall of Famer, championship point guard. Do you think playing with someone who played at such a high level helped Jalen Brunson?
No question.
Okay. So then my next question, one, not only did that help Jalen Brunson, but do you think Tibbs can still help Jalen move in that direction? Because, there's always a talk about having a point guard as a head coach who's able to like tell you like visually what to see on the floor. Do you think there's going to be do you think there'll be like a bump in the road along those lines between going from Kidd to Thibodeau?
I tell you what, that's a terrific question about how Jason Kidd helped him. I watched J. Kidd and Jalen interact all year, and you'll never know the impact that J. Kidd had on Jalen. So I think where Tibbs is going to help Jalen is more on the defensive side of the basketball. Thibodeau has always been known for defense. Not that Jalen Brunson isn't a solid defender, but Tibbs just has a different knack for the defensive end. And for the defensive side of the ball, and if he can teach Jalen how to be a leader as a defender, it's clearly going to help the Knicks basketball team, because that's how you win championships. And everybody raves about what the Warriors do offensively. They're always in the top 5 on the defensive side of the ball. Chicago, when they were winning championships, always in the top 1 or 2 defensive teams. So as much as we want to see 20 points a game, I think his overall game on the Thibodeau is gonna really improve. And I think in turn that will certainly help the Knicks to improve, man. The Knicks been down too long, man. I'm a Maverick.
We've been down, man.
Oh man.
I'm a Maverick through and through, because this is where it all started for me. But after that, I root for the Knicks, man, point blank. I don't root for them when they play against my Mavs. But other than that, I'm pulling for the Knicks, man, because I experienced nothing but love in New York my 2.5 years that I was there.
And rightfully so. So I'm going to ask you the same question you asked Jalen. Do you think he's going to be an All-Star this season?
You got to be realistic about All-Star picks, because, I think somebody last year, LaMelo Ball, made it as an All because somebody got hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So he can be an All-Star. I hope that's not his approach. I hope he just goes out and plays his game, but certainly has an opportunity. The market is there. I think his game is there. And if he's not an All-Star, he will be discussed as a guy that has a chance to be an All-Star. Hard to pick an All-Star team. I never made the All-Star game, but I always feel like and always felt like I was talked about as an All-Star. Like, is it Derek Stern? I think Jalen is right there. And if he doesn't make it in his 4th year, coming into his 4th year, he'll have a lot of years to possibly get there. But I think the world of Jalen Brunson. And I just think he has the pedigree and just the situation that he's in right now. I think he can be an All-Star. I really do.